Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the Bommer LB4361-400-633 4x4 single acting spring hinge, full mortise, residential weight, lube bearing, steel base, satin brass plated. The Bommer LB43, let's dissect the part number. The LB part of this part number means that it is a maintenance-free style lube bearing is what it's called. The 4361 specifically refers to the dimensional properties of this hinge, meaning the radius on one leaf, the 5/8 radius on this leaf, the square corner on this leaf, and the dimensional properties of the screw holes. All of that combined makes this the hinge that you would use for a Castlegate manufactured door and frame installation. And there's a link to the template below this video showing everything important dimensionally about it. Okay. The 400 part of the part number means that this is a 4-inch high, which is always the first dimension on these sorts of hinges, and 4-inch wide hinge. The 633, pardon me, means that it is in the satin brass finish. 633 is a satin brass finish, like a US 4 satin brass. Well, it's 633. It's a satin brass finish on a steel-based material. And it's a single acting spring hinge. You can see from the swag on the hinge that it's full mortise, meaning that when the door is closed, that the leaves of the door for the door and the frame are intended to be mortised flush to the edge of the door and to the frame. Single acting spring hinge because it only swings in one direction. Below this video is a guideline in terms of how many hinges that you would use given the size and weight of a door. Typically dealing with doors up to 3 foot by 7 foot tall. If your door was 85 pounds, Bommer recommends 2 spring hinges and 1 regular hinge. And if it's up to 110 pounds, Bommer recommends all 3 spring hinges. And you can mix and match these with standard 4x4 hinges because the axis of pivoting on this spring hinge is compatible with a standard hinge. I'm a fan of all spring hinges for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're not really that expensive. And if you're not sure, opt towards more spring hinges rather than less. But also from a standpoint of the spring hinge's ability to close the door. The performance of the hardware is also based on using it within its designed capacity. I have found a greater rate of success when I've got more spring hinges, or at least not shy of where I need to be, because if you've got one spring hinge on the door, you've really got to set the tension on that spring in there quite high, not to get it to slam or to move fast, but to build up enough inertia to get the door started so that when it gets down to the last few degrees of closing, that you've got enough oomph, or torque left in the spring. Like a tugboat torque. It doesn't go fast, but it can pull a lot of weight because it has a lot of torque. Or like a diesel truck, a lot of torque. Enough torque to get the door actually closed to overcome the wind resistance and the friction of the latch, and to do so without setting so much tension on the spring that you endanger breaking the spring or endanger slamming the door constantly. So I'm a fan of all spring hinges. Because you can share the job evenly across more springs, allowing you to get a greater amount of torque so that in that trouble area of the last few degrees, you can reasonably expect that the door is going to close every single time without slamming. Sometimes it slams so hard it bounces back open. Setting the tension, that will be in the instructions that are on the back of the box that you typically get, but they're also a link below this video. Instructions, quite simple. With the package, to back up, you're going to get all wood screws, all metal screws, and a complementary finish. You're going to get a tension rod, which is that heavy black piece of metal in there. Then you're going to get a tension pin. You only need one per hinge, and that's it right there. So you would insert your tension rod, and I'll just poke it out of the edge of the bag, into the tension collar, and if this is installed upwards, you would turn it clockwise. And as a result of doing that, you reveal more holes in the tension collar, and it's into one of those new holes that you insert that tension pin. You know, obviously it's not handed. You can turn it over, but you just have to keep in mind now you're turning the tension collar in the opposite direction. So this up clockwise. Instructions refer to that, so don't worry about forgetting it. Very good quality item, available in several different finishes. Bommer is a full line manufacturer of residential style hinges like this for a variety of different door manufacturers: Castlegate, Permador, Stanley, etc. The last thing I'd like to show you is the logo. It says Bommer. Right above it, it says Made in USA, a fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. If you have any questions on the Bommer LB4361-400-633, single acting full mortise spring hinge for Castlegate or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.